Welcome to the Whole Note. Today we get to talk about my favorite musical with my favorite person. Honestly, if it wasn't for this person, I probably would not have lived out my dreams at all. So the musical that we are talking about today is Little Shop of Horrors. And my special guest is the director of my production of Little Shop of Horrors, Stacy Oosterink. Stacy,
Hello, my love.
No, like seriously, hun, if it wasn't for you casting me as Audrey 2 in your production of Little Shop, I probably quite literally would not be where I am right now. Like literally.
Well, but it's fortuitous, right? Because gosh, I didn't even know you were coming to audition. It was the last night of auditions. And I was like, oh, are you sure? You sure you want to make this trek? And you were like, yes. I'm like, all right. And you came in and there was no question. The best part was during that whole thing, that's when Karen Soderberg from Frostburg she doesn't like this. She doesn't like Little Shop. She came down to see Little Shop because of me and Sean and Kylie and then she said, who is your Audrey 2? And that kind of opened that door, didn't it?
Yes, so, it did.
I think things just worked out the way they were supposed to the whole time.
It's a blessing. So, Stacy, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So hi, I'm Stacy Oosterink. I'm, a mom and an actress and a director, and I've spent over half my life in community theater in Southern Maryland, primarily. I was in my younger days, I was an actress, and now I find I get a lot of joy out of directing. I work for the federal government by day, and I, at night and in the evenings, I throw myself into community theater or, crafting or karaoke or something creative. I will tell you, I'm so glad that, our pandemic restrictions are easing up because I was going a little stir crazy without that kind of interaction. But it's just acting, singing, theater is a part of my life. I've got 4 awesome kids, all of whom are very artistic. In fact, my youngest is currently a junior studying musical theater performance at Rider University in New Jersey. And hopefully we'll get to see him on your stage someday. So that's kind of how I think the universe works. So, but that's me.
Now, we get to talk about Little Shop of Horrors, and this show means so much to both of us in different ways. And let's just talk about the show for a hot second, because just the title alone, you're like, okay, so is this going to be scary or is this going to be campy?
And the answer is both.
Both.
I love the show, having done the show as an actress first, and just fell in love. I mean, the music is just, and we're going to talk about the music because the music is killer. But it's fun, and it is campy, and it does kind of harken back to those terrible horror B films from the late 50s and early 60s. But yet, it's such a good story because when you have your protagonists being characters and not caricatures, then you really get a lot out of it. And the fact that each one of those characters is such a big personality. I mean, the plant is obviously the biggest personality, hence why, we cast that one perfectly, just saying. But all of the characters and they all have their just moment or 5, and you find yourself in the same breath going, oh, and then laughing, so being horrified and then laughing at the same time. So it's a pretty cool show.
Mm-hmm. Now, the original production of Little Shop of Horrors opened off-Broadway at the Orpheum Theater in Manhattan's East Village on July 27th, 1982, which means this year would be its 39th anniversary because I was
Crazy.
born in 1982. So yay. And it starred Lee Wilkoff as Seymour, Ellen Green as Audrey. Oh, bless. Hi Ansel as Mr. Mushnick, and Frank Lutz as Oren, and other small roles. Ron Taylor was the original voice of Audrey 2, with Martin P. Robinson as the puppeteer for Audrey 2. Now, it opened on Broadway, which this just boggles my mind, that the fact that it did not have a Broadway run until 2003. And it opened at the Virginia Theater, which is now the August Wilson Theater,
Right.
October 2nd, 2002, with Hunter Foster as Seymour, Carrie Butler as Audrey, Rob Bartlett as Mr. Mushnick, Douglas Sills as Oren, and Michael Leon Woolley as the voice of Audrey 2. I saw this production, and this production scared the mess out of me at the finale, which we'll talk about. Oh, my heavens.
So I have a theory as to why it stayed off Broadway for so long. I mean, Little Shop is it's a small cast. Not when I do it, but I had an ensemble. And we had all kinds of people on the stage. But traditionally, it's a very small cast. And it really is not a super complicated set either. I mean, it's pretty simple. So that there's off-Broadway theaters being smaller and more intimate, you get a more intimate experience with all of the characters and all of the things going on. So I think that's why it stayed off Broadway and translated so well off Broadway before going to the Broadway run. Just a theory.
Now there is a off-Broadway revival that is, I'm going to say it stars, oh God, what's his name? Jonathan Groff and
Jeremy Jordan.
Carrie Jordan, thank you.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jordan's doing
Jeremy
it.
Jordan, yeah.
And who plays Audrey in that production? And oh my God, I cannot believe I forgot about that one.
So let's see. Jonathan Groff started as Seymour. I had to look up my facts. Jeremy Jordan was supposed to take over the week Broadway shut down. And then Tammy Blanchard is Audrey.
Tammy Blanchard, there we go.
Yep. And Christian Borle, who played William Shakespeare in Something Rotten, Oren.
I love that man.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
He's so expressive with his face, and I love it.
He is, and he's the funniest skeevy character I've ever seen. I mean, he's skeevy, but you can't hate him because he's just really, really good at it. So let's hope that run gets fired back up and soon.
Now, Little Shop of Horrors was written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. Great composers, who, like, both of them have worked on numerous Disney productions as well. So speaking of the music, let's just dive right on into this.
Let's get it.
Breakdown.
Let's
do it. So the opening song, which is Prologue, Little Shop of Horrors, you are instantly just thrown into this drum roll, and you're like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to start this show. Got it. And it starts off with this voiceover that is literally just setting up what happened on a particular day in September.
Yep.
And it's very mysterious / scary, and you don't know exactly where this show is going because of that.
Yeah, well, so the director's libretto actually says that character is a voice not unlike God. So it's pretty serious. The gravitas they wish to give that opening, the first words that are spoken. They want a heavyweight. So yeah, and you're like, it's awesome.
And then we are introduced to the trio, the Greek chorus, the doo-wop girls.
Right.
Oh, let me say this. The harmonies with these three girls are ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely.
Ridiculous. And the song Wish of Horrors is so peppy and upbeat, but at the same time, they're like trying to warn you, like, hey, don't go here. Things are happening here, but it's so cheerful and happy.
Yeah, so again, it's a hark back to the girl groups of the 50s and 60s, like the Shirelle. Like, if you think Leader of the Pack is not a happy song, right? But it's, they're the way it's delivered, it's very catchy and whatever. And so yeah, the Greek chorus of Chiffon, Crystal, and Ronette, they come out and it's very clear that that's who they are. They are your doo-wop girls. They're going to take you back and they're going to tell you this story in a way that mixes a not happy story with an entirely happy way of telling it. And that's, again, that weird juxtaposition of, wow, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, and it's funny, not like there's dark humor, but this is like legit funniness with sometimes a not so funny subject matter. So
oh yes, oh yes.
That balance is tough. And those girls, all of them have to sing. And I mean sing. And if you're missing even one is off, So yeah, kudos to them, because I think they're in almost every scene and they're singing, I think, part of almost every song. So yeah, those three, they're workhorses.
Yeah, they are very prominent in Act 1, but then in Act 2, they don't almost like take a back seat, but they become the observers of everything that's happening, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna watch and just let things unfold.
Yeah, and they kind of pop in to a scene and kind of push it along and then pop back out. It's a great use of a Greek chorus for sure.
And then after that song, we are introduced to our core trio of characters, which is Audrey, Seymour, and Mushnik.
Yep.
And they work at Mushnik Skid Row Florist, which is this dilapidated, run-down florist shop that no one is coming to.
Yeah.
The character dynamics is very, very clear from like the first line that of Mr. Mushnik. Seymour, what the name of God is going on down there? And then Seymour very, very meekly, very little Mr. Mushnik. And I'm like, wow. It's definitely a boss employee kind of mentality. By the same token, there's just, at least to me, there's an underscore of caring for Mr. Mushnik, because you kind of have to care a little bit for Mr. Mushnik, or else he just comes off as a jerk all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, look, so Mushnik is, I mean, he's a guy who's obviously been at the game a long time. I mean, you're living on a flower shop on Skid Row. These people are not taking home roses to their lady love, right? I mean, you're on Skid Row, you're barely making ends meet. The girls sing about that, about the kind of jobs that they have. They go uptown and work for the rich people, and then they come back to the crap that is Skid Row. So, and again, they do it in this happy, peppy way, which makes Skid Row sound like not such a bad place. But you've got Mr. Mushnik, who's got probably one of the most, I don't know, unfortunate businesses to be found on Skid Row, because flowers are a luxury item. And yet there he is. And instead of giving up, he's there plugging away like everybody else. And it wasn't entirely altruistic, but he's taken in this orphan, Seymour, and Seymour lives there, and he makes sure that Seymour is fed and that he's clothed and that he has a dry place to sleep. Not in complete contrast to the bums and the winos who are singing outside the flower shop, complete derelicts. So it kind of says, all right, so you have to care about Mushnik because he saved Seymour from being that. Right? And he's a little curmudgeonly, but he's not mean. Mushnik is not mean. He's grumpy. He's had a hard life, but he's not mean. So yeah, so he's there just kind of, and God love him, Seymour just can't get out of his own way.
Right.
Yeah.
Seymour is, and I have coined this term. He's adorkable. He is.
Yeah.
he's he looks like the boy who has the best friend boy next door.
Yeah.
He's very, very meek. He's very, very shy. But he tries his hardest to be as impressive as an individual as he possibly can for his coworker who doesn't truly see him until she can see him. And speaking of that coworker, Audrey,
She is a hot mess.
a hot mess.
She is a hot mess.
We can talk about Audrey for this entire podcast and not even go into the rest of the songs.
Look, y'all, as someone who has 3 daughters, Audrey is the girl you do not want your baby girl to be.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being honest, that is not, no child, no, that is not what you want. This is a girl who has 0 self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. And the first time you see her, she has a black eye.
Oh, absolutely.
And immediately you're like, what?
Right.
She has a black eye?
Right. And but she's sweet. And she has not let that harden her.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I find to be interesting, is that both of those characters, Audrey and Seymour, and you find it in Skid Row, they tell their stories. Neither one of them have had it easy, but they have not life has not hardened them. They're not jaded. They still believe in something better. And as sweet and naive as that may be, it's one of the things that makes them very endearing, and it makes you care for them. Mm-hmm. And we were lucky enough, I think, to have 2 actors who stayed very true to that they didn't make caricatures of Audrey and Seymour. They kept them grounded in reality. And so they weren't so pathetic that you felt super sorry for them. Like, oh, they're never going to, they had enough hope and enough humanity that you rooted for them and you cared about them. And you have to care about them because Seymour's going to do some terrible things and you have to be able to forgive him for that.
A friend of mine said that Audrey and Seymour are like the roses that grow in the cracks of the asphalt. And I was like, that is a great freaking analogy.
I would go so far to say as Audrey is the dandelion that everybody walks on. Mm-hmm. Like a rose you would stop and look at, but a dandelion, they just keep getting crushed under the heels of the people walking by. And yet that flower, if you have a lawn, that flower will continue to grow and continue to bloom and continue to put out seed to try to make itself bigger, better, stronger. So, yeah.
And so with these trio of characters, you are instantly the place of work is obviously failing. And they just do this daily. And
yes.
It's a constant repeating. It's almost like the definition of insanity. You keep going to the same place, hoping for different results, but it's never going to happen.
Or is it?
Ooh. So Mr. Mushnick goes outside of his flower shop because the do-up girls who now have changed costumes are now urchins sitting on his stoop. And he's like, nope, get away. You're ruining my business. You're
ruining the aesthetic. Right. Yeah, like they're the reason there are no customers coming into a Skid Row.
Exactly. And my favorite line is Mr. Mushnick is like, you ought to be in school. Yeah, but we're on a split shift. We went to school till 5th grade, then we split.
Yep.
And then it goes into the next song, which I'll probably continue the rest of the line, might as well. So how do you tend to better yourselves? better ourselves, Mister, when you're from Skid Row, there's no such thing.
Right.
And it goes into this, to me, this song stands outside of the show because it is one of the few songs that are outside of the flower shop. And it's one of the few songs that is it builds the world that Mr. Mushnick's Mr. Mushnick's Flower Shop is in. And that song is called Skid Row Downtown.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful song though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, here's where you realize the kind of genius you've got, right, in the songwriters. You've got all of these stories going on, and you've got the characters crossing and telling their story, and it's all this. They're weaving a tapestry with the lyrics, and their own personal stories. It's a beautiful song about a not so beautiful place. And it's I mean, and it's very lyric and it's very musical, and and it really does set the scene of, okay, here's where you are, you're here. And it's not a pretty place to be, but it's the first thing that makes you say, man, I'm glad I'm visiting this place, is that song.
And each character with Audrey and Seymour has their moment in this song.
Oh,
Audrey talks about how I'm trying to think of the lyrics. Downtown, where the guys are drips.
And
Downtown,
they rip your slips.
they rip your slips, and I'm like, wow. Immediately, you are given just the hints that she is in an abusive relationship, and you're just like, okay, so that's how she got the black eye. Oh, okay, let us continue with this. And then with Seymour, he pretty much says that his entire life he's been poor, and he's been asking God what he is there for.
Right. Why am I here? What's my purpose?
And it also, like, it sort of speaks to Seymour's not really mental health, but like just how he sees himself. And he doesn't see himself as anybody. He's just he wants to be somebody, but he'll never be somebody. And that's what he thinks in his mind. And I'm like, oh no.
Well, the telling line from that song is, I keep asking God what I'm for, and he tells me, gee, I'm not sure. Sweep that floor, kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, is God really going to tell you that? So, but that's the message he's received. His entire life, he's received that even God doesn't have a purpose for him, except for sweeping the floors. But it doesn't stop him from dreaming, and it doesn't stop him from appreciating, the meager blessings that he has gotten to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mushnick's, he's not the nicest person in the world. In other words, he's not sleeping in the big house and whatever, but he does take care of Seymour. He does make sure Seymour's not destitute. He did kind of pluck Seymour out of the orphanage and out of nothingness. So Seymour is still very much like Audrey. Our circumstances are not good, but we're still not jaded enough that we can't appreciate even the very simple, small blessings we do have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that look right there, that's the girls are going, y'all, you should be wanting more. You're worth more. And they're both very similar in the, I have this, and if something better comes along, then okay. But for now, this is what I have, and I'm going to work with it.
Mm-hmm. So the thing I love about this song is the very ending, because both Seymour and Audrey, like, the song is it's not slow, but like towards the end, it starts to pick up, and you start to see that, Audrey and Seymour, they're starting to fill up with hope, and they start to fill up with pride. They're like, we can get out of here, and once we get out of here, the whole world will be different. And like, with the ensemble singing the undertone, and Seymour and Audrey just singing their hearts out, and then they just hold that and belt out that blast huge note. It ends on such a positive note for both of those characters, that you go, okay, so they're going to get out of this and it's going to be a beautiful thing. I can't wait to watch it.
Right. That Ashman and Menken wrote that build and whatever, and the audience. I mean, I saw Little Shop a number of times before I ever was in it, and I remember sitting in the audience. You become their cheerleader. I mean, that's the moment where you're like, someone tell me I'm going to get out of here, and you're like, you are, honey, you are going to get out of here. And they hit that big note, and everybody hits that big note, and it's kind of taking you from the the bum on the street burping and whatever to this big positive. There's some sunbeams of hope happening, and you are here for it as an audience. You are rooting for both of them, come what may.
And so then after that song, we were given a little scene of time passing and no one is coming into the shop. And so Mr. Mushnick gives up. He's like, you know what? Don't bother coming again tomorrow. I'm going to close this God and customer forsaken place. Yep. And then we are given the sort of like the twist in the show. And then Audrey says, hey, Seymour, why don't you run downstairs and bring up that strange and interesting new plan you've been working on? And as an audience member, you're just like, okay, so what kind of plan is this? And
well, it's the first inkling you have that Seymour might be more than just what you see, right? He and Audrey he has a secret, and Audrey's in on the secret. Mushnick's not in on the secret, but there's more to Seymour. And he shared it with her, and she believes in him. She may be the one person who believes in him. She believes in Seymour more than Seymour believes in Seymour.
Exactly.
And yeah, so it's like she's ready to push him forward. Like, here's your beam of hope, and it emerges in a little flower pot looking like this.
And so he brings up this Venus flytrap looking plant.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mushnick's like, what is this? And immediately Seymour says, it's an Audrey too. And Audrey's like, after me? And Seymour's like, I hope you don't mind. It's such a cute little exchange.
Right, because that's, again, so Audrey pushing Seymour forward has shown that she believes in him. And the fact that he had already named the plan after her shows that he believes in her. Even though they're not telling it to each other ever. First inkling that you have that it's like, wait a second, these two do see each other. They see each other. They don't realize it yet, but they see each other. And that's kind of the first moment of, okay. And then you kind of, so now you've been rooting for them individually. Now you're rooting for them together. And the girls in the they do a brilliant job of telling the story. They are 100% classic Greek chorus, providing the background, setting it up, and Seymour kind of talks his way through all of the things that happened and how he came about having this plant, which he got stiffed on, by the way. I mean, poor Seymour.
So Seymour puts the plant in the window and a random customer comes in. And then we get into the next song, which is Dadu, as you were already saying.
Yep.
And it's like you said, it's Seymour just saying how he got the plant, and the Do-Up girls are just like accenting everything that he says.
Right. It literally is just this very, very rhythmic. It's really, really cool. The rhythm and the meter of what they're doing keeps the tempo and makes the story. The story is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous story. But the fact that, again, they're giving you this do da do, right? All rhythms we recognize and whatever, and you're just kind of bopping along, and it makes it really easy to believe that he met the little Chinese man during a total eclipse of the sun, and there it was. And it just, they're the spoonful of sugar. They made that medicine go right down, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. With like the line that really makes you go, wait, something's wrong, stop. There was a strange humming sound, like something from another world.
You're right.
And I'm like, wait, what? So
Yeah.
wait. Are
Nobody
people gonna
blinks
glaze
at it.
over that?
Nobody blinks at it. Everybody's just like, there it was. And stuck in among the zinnias.
Which of all of, and that's of all the flowers, it was among the zinnias, the most innocent and pretty and beautiful looking flowers.
Yeah.
And they were just this little thing.
Yeah. And the old Chinese man sold it to him anyway.
For $1.95. I feel like we're going to be making references to like every single song as we're going through this, and I am okay with that.
Well, I mean, we kind of know them all really well. We sang them for months, before, during, and after.
And so the customer is like, that's a strange plant. And then he turns around and says, so can I get $50 worth of roses? Which Mushnik is like, what, $50? Yes. And then he says, well, can you break 100? And they all stop in their tracks because obviously they don't have,
they have no
money in the drawer.
No. No.
And Mission Bush is like, oh, we close our drawer for the day. And without batting an eye, the customer says, well, I guess I'll have to take twice as many.
Twice as many?
And that just like floors them because they're about to make $100 sale in roses. And so they wrap up these half dead looking roses and give it to the guy.
Right.
And scoots him off.
And he leaves happily. That's the thing, right? So it's like, okay, I mean, you look at it now. You have a customer that walks in, they'd be like, this is $100 worth. No, he's so enchanted by the strange and unusual plant that he just happily goes off. And everybody is like, holy moly, what just happened? So it's like the first little miracle. You know, the first, I mean, okay, so Audrey 2 appearing, but then it looks like, oh, this is our good luck charm. Right? This is our first stroke of good luck. This is it. And Audrey looks like a genius, which she's not. That is not a smart woman. And Seymour, who I think is more intelligent than he lets on, certainly about plants and botany, he is. But this looks like a genius idea. Way to go, Audrey. And this is going to be what turns things around. This can bring nothing but goodness to all.
And instantly all Mushnik sees is dollar signs, complete dollar signs. And he's just like, keep that plant in the window for everybody to come and see it. And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take everybody out to dinner tonight. Right. And Audrey, this entire next scene just like infuriates me. Audrey's like, oh, I can't, I got a date. And instantly as an audience member, you're like, oh no, don't go out on this date with this guy. And then you find out that he wears a leather jacket, he rides a motorcycle, and you're just like instantly bad boy image.
Yeah. Well, so here's what I love about Mushnik. I mean, think about it. When do you think the last time was Mushnik got $100 order, right? True. And yes, he sees the dollar signs, but he says, my children, I'm taking this all dinner. So again, he's curmudgeonly, but he's got a heart, right? So you gotta kind of root for him too. And then there's our sweet Audrey without a brain in her head that, I got a date. And that it's probably not where she wants to be, but she doesn't have enough self-esteem to realize that she has choices. She's still in a place where she doesn't realize she has choices.
And the line that she says, he's a rebel, Mr. Mushnik, but he makes good money. And besides, he's the only fella I got. And I'm like, oh no. Oh.
Yeah. That's, a woman who doesn't a woman who doesn't have choices and has not woken up to the fact that she deserves them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you feel bad for Audrey. You really do. She's sweet enough that you want her to get out of it. You're not ready to choke her like you big dummy. You need to dump that dude, like your bad wireless carrier. Um, but she's so sweet, and she really does. She wants what's best for everybody else, and she doesn't see that she herself deserves that too.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, when I was directing the show we were in, that was the point I had to get through to our Audrey, who that's a not a known theme. That's not a known thing for her, right? she's a strong-willed woman with a plan.
Very strong-willed.
Yes. And she's a strong with a plan, who knows what she deserves, and she works to get it. And I said, you really are going to have to channel something different, because this is a woman who doesn't know that she doesn't deserve more. She don't she's not sad, because she doesn't know what she doesn't know, and she doesn't know that she deserves more. She knows that others deserve more. She doesn't know that about herself. That was a hard thing to get our Audrey to do. She nailed it. She had the ditzy part down really good, and whatever. But she, by the end of it, was that empathy was that was just kind of oozing out of Audrey, because Audrey's a very empathetic person. She's, and that empathy makes you want to help her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which we find out more about Audrey later on in her song, and we can dissect that song for ages. Lord have mercy. So the plant ends up wilting, and Mushy's like, oh no, whatever you got to do, the nurse is playing back to health.
Well, right. So Audrey says, no, I'm going on a date. And he's like, Seymour's like, are we still going to dinner? And that's when I does this. And he says, no, you need to fix the plant, because that's our little good luck charm.
Mm-hmm. And so we discover that, like, Seymour doesn't know exactly how to take care of it. So that goes into the next song, which is "Grow for Me." The song is such a pleaful song. He's like, please just grow for me. Whatever you want, whatever you need, I will do for you. Just anything. And just, you feel really bad for Seymour. So as he's like singing the song, he's cleaning up his space, or the flower shop, and he picks up a rose and it pricks his finger. And he's like, ah, stupid roses. Until we look what happened. And then the plant's mouth is open.
Yeah. That's the first inkling you get of, this is not your normal plant.
And immediately
it dawned on him yet either.
Immediately Seymour's like, oh, what made you do that? And so he gets closer to the plant, and the plant is like trying to bite off his finger. And that's when Seymour realized, like he has this drop of blood on one finger, and then he puts his regular finger to him, nothing.
Right.
And then he twists the drop of blood, and the plant's reacting, and that's when Seymour's like, I think I know what made you do that. And so Seymour, like, out of his, I want to call it his need to help people, said, okay, I will go ahead and do this. Just don't make a habit out of it or anything.
Right.
Immediately plot.
Right. Well, and so here's the other thing. That song, Grow for Me, starts, he's pleading with it, but again, I got to go back to the tempo of the song is not slow and sad. It is this little rhythm, this little bouncy da 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 da, right? And it is this little bouncy thing, and you are sitting there as an audience member, and I, as a director, was watching this going, okay, so this could be, here's where you could go 100% campy and overplay it, and then I think you lose the bubble, right? but you've got Seymour who stays completely grounded. You have to now, your audience now has to suspend disbelief. We've set you up, and here's the thing: we have a plant that wants blood. Okay, we're all going to just pretend that's normal. We're still going to root for it because that means that Seymour's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's one of those moments where you just have to accept. Like, don't try to make sense of it. Just accept it and go on.
This is not a biography, people. This is not a drama. It's a tragedy, but it's not a drama. And you have to be able to enjoy it, right? There are other dark musicals that, have similar themes. I'm like Sweeney Todd. Okay. Mm-hmm. You have dark things that are going on. The difference with Little Shop is that it's the music. The music is so happy, and it makes you want to sing along. And even when you're dealing with a ridiculous subject like that, where bad things are happening, like, okay, he's going to have to drip blood into the plant. You're still like, okay, well, that's all right. It's going to turn out okay. You're not sitting there going, oh no, they're still bringing you along in a very happy way. And I think it's all a function of music.
Mm-hmm. So the end of the song, Seymour gives the plant like a couple of drops of blood, and that was enough for the plant to grow like twice its size.
Crazy,
probably like
right?
3 or 4 times its size.
Yep.
And immediately as an audience member, at least for me, you're like, you start to think, what happens when the plant gets too big? What you're going to do then? And so like all these scenarios start playing in your head, and you're just like, okay, so this plant is going to be something major. This plant is going to be like the major driving force of this show, which, Little Shop of Horrors.
Well, so the thought for me was, you get a couple of drops, right? And then the plant grows a lot. Well, a couple of drops is probably not going to do it next time, Seymour. Mm-hmm. But it hasn't dawned on him yet.
Not at all. All right. He's thinking about is helping Mr. Mushnick, helping Audrey, and making the shop successful, which
right.
I cannot fault him for that. Not at all.
No, because he's not thinking of himself either.
He's not.
He and Audrey are very, very similar. He's not doing this for him. He's doing it for them. He wants to make Audrey's world better. And he wants to show gratitude to Mushnick, just like Audrey wants to make Mushnick's world better and push Seymour into the limelight. Neither one of them they don't have a sense of self-worth at all yet.
So then we get into the next song, You Never Know. And it starts off with Seymour doing a radio broadcast about the plant.
Yep.
When we see the plant, it is definitely much, much bigger.
Yes.
And it's being held inside a flower pot by Seymour. And Seymour has all these band-aids on his fingers. So immediately you're just like, oh.
right. You're like, child, no.
And like my immediate thought was, okay, this is a mother who is feeding their child, like, here's milk for you, just latch on. And I'm just like, oh, Seymour, no. But the song, go ahead.
This is the funny part is he comes in and he's happy and everybody's saying what a great job he's doing, and the plant is bopping along and is dancing along as the girls are singing and whatever, and nobody really seems to notice that the plant is dancing along.
Right. The plant is
almost human.
and like as an audience member, like when you start seeing the plant move by itself like that, you're just like, okay, so the plant moves. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We're going to accept it and see what happens. It's like you are on this journey with this plant, and like you just know that something bad is going to happen and it's going to be involving this plan.
Yeah.
Just from this one song. And Mushnick gets so happy with Seymour. And it's the first time that Seymour probably got like some real praise from Mr. Mushnick. But at the same token, Mr. Mushnick does, belittle him. It's like, you forgot the address. You forgot the address. How many times did I tell you? He was like, I'm sorry, I was nervous. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, you realize in You Never Know, it's that the plant isn't the only one that's growing. Seymour's growing. And he's getting, Seymour's getting a little sunlight, and kind of, you're hoping he blossoms as well. Yeah. And Mushnick, I mean, I think you take 10 years off of his age in this show, in that song alone, as he's singing with the girls, pinch me girls, this couldn't be happening. And it's the weight of the world has been lifted. And finally, all of this optimism.
And finally his business will thrive thanks to Seymour. So the end of the song, we get a beautiful, wonderful tableau of the three Greek chorus girls and Seymour. And Mr. Mushnick yells for Seymour and he like runs inside like, oh, right, coming. And Audrey runs on stage with her arm in a sling. And you're just like, oh my God.
Girl.
I mean, the Greek chorus, even the doo-wop girls, even says, honey, I don't know who this man you've been messing around with, but he is hazardous to your health.
Right? What kind of place is that, sugar? An emergency room? Yeah. So you have this happy, optimistic, you never know what could happen, right? All of this wonderfulness, it just happened out of the blue, you never know. And in comes our girl who is late because she's had the living daylights beat out of her again. And yet she still comes to work.
And the one line she says, she's like, no, I was just handcuffed a little. That's her excuse, and also her alibi. Not really alibi, but more like, she is saying, oh, Oren just left me handcuffed. It's okay. It's fine. Everything is fine.
Well, she doesn't realize how that's not normal. And she doesn't look, I mean, hey, people want to get into that. That's cool. Look, I no judgment. That's consenting adults. Audrey doesn't even really know how to not consent. She doesn't think she has a choice. And that's a pretty weighty thing. That's a pretty weighty subject to deal with, is that here's this woman who is being abused. And she doesn't even know she has the power to say no. And that, so it could, here's the thing, again, it could be you've just had this happy, you never know, and then you have this scene come on, and it could be like just a giant bucket of ice water that totally, but the lines are written and delivered in such a way with enough lightness and comedy that it gives the point, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it enough to take you out of the moment. And that's a really hard thing to do, because it's like Ashman and Menken are giving you, say, we're going to unpack this later. For right now, just tuck it away. We're going to unpack that later. And you do. You end up, unpacking it throughout the show.
And Audrey sings probably my absolute favorite song in the entire show, Somewhere That's Green, where it is literally her ideal living situation, her dream world. And like the doo-wop girls even say, you deserve someone better. How about that guy with the glasses? And she's like, Seymour? That's him. Oh, we're just friends. And besides, I don't even deserve a sweet, considerate, suddenly successful guy like Seymour. Which you're just like, honey, yes, you do. Yes,
Sure you
do.
do. Well, and then she sings, so my favorite thing, this is, so Somewhere That's Green is, anyone who's watched The Little Mermaid, Somewhere That's Green is the mama to Part of Your World. It's the same key, it's the same chord progressions, it's kind of sort of the same message. But for those who don't know, so Audrey sings about what her dream is. And her dream is Levittown, Pennsylvania, which was like one of the country's first planned communities with little Rambler style tract houses and little yards with chain link fences, where all the houses looked exactly the same. Nothing, it was mass produced neighborhood. There was nothing custom about it. And instead of thinking that's boring or cookie cutter, she said, all the houses look exactly alike and everything is so neat and pretty. Because Skid Row is chaos. Her life is chaos. So to have such orderly and have things that she can depend on, that's really what she's singing about. She doesn't say it. She sings the beautiful lyrics about, a tract house that we share and a fence of real chain link and a grill out on the patio, a disposal in the sink.
And a sweet little guy like
Seymour. Right. Something she could depend on. And her dreams are not big. She's not hoping for a Malibu mansion. She wants a tract house in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Something that is solid and dependable and that won't abuse her. And it's a dream because she doesn't realize that she's worthy of having that. And that song is so beautiful. It's just, and it's sad, but it's sweet sad. And it's hopeful. And again, it could be, look, this whole show could be a complete downer. But it's not, because you get this, there's this underlying sense of hope and this underlying sense of optimism and this underlying sense of everything is going to turn out okay in the end. And yeah.
One of the lyrics of the song is I cook like Betty Crocker and I look like Donna Reed.
Yeah.
Which Donna Reed is the pinnacle housewife, like the look of the pinnacle housewife. And just to be able to bake is one of the things that every quote unquote housewife has to do. And that's what she wants.
Sure.
She doesn't want to be anything else. She doesn't, and to me, it feels like she doesn't want to continue to dress sexy. She wants to be modest. She wants to be loved. And I was like, okay, I'm here for it.
Well, so her world is small enough that what she has seen, that her, what she knows of the big world, right, is like, I Love Lucy. They talk about, we snuggle watching Lucy on our big, enormous 12-inch screen. But think about Lucy. I mean, even through all of that, Lucille Ball was a beautiful woman, put together, but in the 50 shirtwaist dresses and the belt, and very much like Donna Reed. They were, and the very typical husband and wife team, nuclear family, that was the norm. That was the pinnacle for her, and it just shows that she didn't have that. Yeah, again, the song could be, it is sad, but it's hopeful. It's you start to unpack it and you realize, this poor girl, she has these entirely attainable dreams. And she delivers that. That song is written so sweetly and so not sad wistful, but hopeful wistful, that again, you don't feel depressed at the end. By the end of it, you're like, yeah, that's beautiful. You're going to get there, girl.
The ending of the song is almost like a bubble pop for her because she has to snap back into reality.
Yeah.
And like the line, she's like, a picture out of Better Homes in Garden Magazine. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like her entire world that she just imagined. She blinked and all of a sudden now she sees Skid Row again. And she's like, yep, it's a dream. And eventually I'll get it, but I'm not hopeful of it. But I'm okay with where I am.
Well, but you can tell there's a little flame of hope in her because she doesn't. So the doo-wop girls are jaded, right? They're the ones, they're street smart. Audrey's not. She is, of all the things that are happening to her and have happened to her, emotionally, she's pretty untouched. She's still innocent, and she's not head in the clouds. Again, she's grounded enough to be thankful for what she does have, but there's that little flame of hope. That little flame of hope that this is what someday this is what I'd love.
Mm-hmm. And it ends on such a beautiful button that you almost forget that that you're still inside of a show, because then the next song just sort of ramps up and immediately you're just like, oh, okay, that was jarring.
Yes. So I mean, I had the luxury of watching all the shows, and one of my favorite moments was there was always this beat of silence where everybody was holding their breath as somewhere that screen ended. And Audrey's voice would trail off, and you would get this beat of silence where like nobody wanted to breathe. And then someone would go, ah, and then the applause would start. But eventually, every night, someone would sigh, and that was that soft bubble pop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. It's a great song. It's a great song. Takes a lot of work to do it well.
And then we go into the next song, which is Clothes for Renovations, because now they're getting a lot more money. They are and they are now starting to get upgrades. They are getting phones. They are getting sponsorships. They're getting so many things because of the plant. It is a very fast song. Not as fast as Act 2 opening, but like, it's pretty up there.
I'm a big fan of a patter song. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite shows ever was the Animaniacs. They did a lot of that patter, and that's what this is. This is a patter song, and it is. And I think it was done on purpose to be. You needed to snap back into reality for the screen, which is very, very dreamlike and very legato and very all of that. And then you got da 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 da, and it's like, okay, we're getting back to the beat of life.
It's very vaudeville. Like when I first heard the song, I was like, this is a very vaudeville number, because like as they're singing, they're decorating and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They're putting things up, they're pulling things out. And in the corner, you see this blanket that's covering something that's almost human size. And you're just like, what's that? What's
right? It's a giant sheet in the corner. Well, and they're talking too, right? So you see that Seymour's still all bandaged up. Seymour, you've been getting hurt so much lately. Accident after accident.
He was like, I don't know what it is. Every time I pick up a pruning shear, I slip.
Right? And he's trying to play, you've been getting hurt. So there's the singing and there's the action. And then there's this quick dialogue between the two. And you really have to pay attention. But it really does, it ramps up the excitement. It is the countdown. Countdown song.
And then at the very end of the song, they pull back the sheet and it is revealed that Audrey 2 is huge.
Massive. I mean, well, bigger than a human.
Yeah. About I'm gonna say about 6 feet tall,
Yeah,
like standing up.
yeah.
And you're just like,
With these long tendrils and whatever, and roots and stems all coming out of this giant pot. It's yeah.
and immediately as an audience member, you're like, this is about to get really, really bad.
Yeah. It's about to get real, folks.
Mhm. And then you have this beautiful exchange between Audrey and Seymour that Audrey is like, Seymour, now that you're getting successful, you ought to get some new clothes. And Seymour's like, I'm not a good shopper like you, Audrey. And so they have this cute little exchange.
They do. And Audrey, here's the thing. Audrey, tight skirts, really tight low cut sweaters. I mean, she dresses like a tart. Not, I don't think because she wants to. I think she thinks that that's how she has to dress, and Oren is really okay with it, right? So that's how she dresses. But he, with his rose-colored glasses, I'm not a good shopper like you. She can do no wrong in his eyes. He wouldn't change her a bit. He wouldn't change anything about Audrey. Seymour wouldn't. He loves her the way she is.
And so Seymour is like, so can we go shopping tonight? And again, she says, oh, I can't tonight. I got a date. And I'm like, oh, okay.
We're still with him, huh?
And so then she's like, oh, I should go get ready. He'll be here very soon. And so she goes off, and in walks, I call him like a James Dean looking person, but
not handsome.
Right.
Like
the everyday
greasy, skeevy greaser James Dean. Not a nice human being.
Not Danny Zuko, but Kaneki.
So wait, Kaneki was a bad boy that had a heart. I don't know that Oren had a heart. I mean, he's like the guy that he's like the guy that the other guy they drag race against.
Oh yes.
The ugly, snarly one. Yeah. And he's a blowhard, and you already know he's got like sadistic tendencies, and you find out that he's a dentist. Right?
Which is one of the most plot twist moment of the entire show for me. The fact that this man is a dentist. I was like, wait, what? Of all the jobs, you're a dentist? Well, but then which gets into the next song, Dentist. But once you start realizing why he's a dentist, it makes sense on why the kind of person that he is. He is a sadistic person who likes to cause pain on others. He gets off on that pain. I mean, he huffs nitrous oxide with just laughing gas.
Well, so here's the other thing is, a phobia about a fear of the dentist is a very real thing. It's odontophobia is a real thing. There are people who have an irrational fear of going to the dentist, just like people have a fear of spiders, others have a fear of snakes. There are people who have a real fear of the dentist. And they, Ashford and Macon do kind of play on that fear, right? So the horror isn't the plan at that point. The horror is this sadistic dentist who is the stuff of your nightmares. You're going to the dentist and she's going to cause you pain, and there's nothing you can do about it, and he is, and he's a terrible human being. And yeah.
The doo-wop girls call him the Marquis de Sade, which instantly makes, if you know anything about that man, you're like, oh, yep, I can see it.
Yeah, now. Right? Yeah, absolutely. And again, so he's got all of these, and he tells you when he was a little kid, he had, he felt like he was choking puppies and whatever, and his mother said, son, you need to be a dentist. So okay. So again, is a very leader of the pack. In fact, he gets called the leader of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rhythmic, and it's very, so he's telling you all of these awful things that he likes to do. And the fact that he's the dentist, and you can't help but laugh because of the way it's delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it falls that you've got, it's campy, but it's purposeful camp. There's campy that is not really purposeful. Like, I think the first camp type films where they tried to do it straight, a real horror film, and it ended up being more funny. And so they said, oh, there's a whole genre of these. We'll just play this up. This is really, really purposeful. That you take something that is legitimately horrifying, a sadistic dentist, and give him this goofy, happy, bouncy song to sing with this, and he's snarling it, and he's rolling his hips like Elvis, and he's supposed to be sexy.
Mm-hmm.
That boy everybody loves, and he's just not a nice person at all. And in our show, we had the nicest human being ever playing Oren, and I having to tell him, it's okay, Pumpkin. It is okay. We know it's not you. Yeah.
Which gets into the next scene after this song, where we actually have this interaction between Oren and Seymour, and Oren and Audrey, and it's a very uncomfortable scene.
Super
and you're just like, oh heavens. So Oren walks in and sees the plant, and and Seymour says, yeah, it's called Audrey too. And Seymour was like, and Oren, without even batting an eye, oh, that's a cute name, catchy, awesome.
Catchy, nice plant, big.
and then Audrey comes out and introduces Oren, like, this is my date, this is my boyfriend, Oren Scrivello. And then he looks at her and she immediately says, DDS.
Yeah.
Like, he has her trained to say his full name.
And title. That title is important.
And just that little bit, you automatically just see the fear that Oren has put into Audrey. And
that scene is uncomfortable. There is nothing funny about it.
Mm-mm.
The fact that it is dropped right there in Act 1. We've been having a good time, suspending disbelief, and then you have this super, super cringy, uncomfortable scene where
go ahead.
Where you actually, before what you've seen has been the aftermath, now you actually get to see what she thinks she deserves.
And what's crazy about this scene is it's so grounded.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes it very, very uncomfortable. Like, this scene could actually happen. This scene has actually happened. We have been removed from the musical, and now we are in reality.
Yep. You get it almost is it's a little bit of a face smack, like, here, that scene could be in any, it could be in an SVU, I mean, an episode. So yeah, it's, you've had this campy song, and you've had the girls come in and out and whatever, and now then you get this little moment of who this guy really is.
Mm-hmm. So at the very end of the scene, Mr. Mushnick is sort of walking in, and Oren is like, you got this plant. Why don't you take it someplace else and make a lot more money than being right here on Skid Row? And Seymour's like, oh, I'll think about it. And Mushnick is like, what? No. Which immediately leads into the next song, Mushnik and Son. But like just the opening of that song, it's almost as if Mushnik's gears are turning and turning, trying to figure out how to keep Seymour right where he is.
Well, right, and you as an audience member, if played well, and it was actually played very well when we did it. You know, as an audience member, I'll think about it. He's not going to think about it. He would never think about it because he's not self-aware enough.
Mm-hmm.
Think he deserves more, right? But then Mushnik starts thinking about it. He'll think about it. He'll think about it. My God, what have I done? I can't lose this. And yeah, that's Mushnik's wheels get to turning a little bit, but not in a, yes, it's mercenary, but I don't think it doesn't come across as being completely mercenary. There is definitely some love there.
It's one of those moments where he was like, I should have done this a long time ago, and now I'm just going to do it.
Right. It's like he needed a big enough stick to make it happen.
Right. So Mushnik and Son is literally about Mushnik saying, hey, Seymour, how would you like to be my son?
It's a tango.
It's a beautiful tango, and I love it.
It's an amazing tango.
and again, it like you said, with you never know that like it takes 10 years off of Mushnik. This song I feel like takes 20 years off of Mushnik, because Mushnik is doing things that I'm just like, whoa, wait, aren't you supposed to be an old man?
Yeah, it's a beautifully written tango, and it's a chance for these two. It really does go from being employee, because look, Mushnik's not treating Seymour like an employee. You don't treat your employees the way he treats Seymour. You treat your family that way, right? You always treat, my son will tell you, Mom, you don't talk to your other actors that way, but when you try, and I'm like, yeah, well, there's a difference. So you end up seeing, it's kind of solidifying that this really is this dysfunctional family, but there's some love there. Yeah, is Mushnik preserving his piece of the pie? Of course he is. But notice he's not, Mushnik could just kick Seymour out, right? It's his job.
Himself.
He could, but he doesn't. He it's not completely altruistic, but it comes across as being, we're going to solidify this relationship that really is kind of paternal, gruff paternal, but definitely paternal. Yeah.
So the ending of this song and into the sort of like mini next scene, you just see Seymour in a state of euphoria, because like all of a sudden, like his dreams are coming true, and he's like,
it's amazing, right?
Is this really happening? And of course, he's just like, the next song is called Sudden Changes, but it's Sudden Changes, and it literally goes into another one. Like this is like literally like a 20-second song. Yep. And Seymour's just thanking Audrey too for everything.
Thanks to you, sweet Petunia. Mushnik's taking a junior. Well, and then they have this little dialogue at the end. He's so grateful. Mm-hmm. All of these wonderful things are due to you. Hey, Tui, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna grab. You're the best. I love you. I'm gonna go grab some food.
The line that he says that really makes you go, okay, Seymour, you should know something's wrong. He's like, he's like, who cares if I've been a little anemic these past few weeks? Who cares if I had a few dizzy spells, a little bit of lightheadedness? It's been worth it all.
It's been worth it all, pal. Right. It's been worth it. Because
and then we get
fortune has smiled upon him.
We get a almost tonal shift in the show, because we're now introduced to, I call the central character, because Seymour up to this point has been like the central character, but then all of a sudden, bam, central character.
Well, so here's the thing. you get the, yeah, you get in, you finally get introduced. You've seen the character's been there, but now you get to know who this character is.
And
Starts with 2 words.
and then it goes right into the next song, Feed Me. So the plant says its first words, which is feed me. And Seymour's like,
I beg your pardon? What? Yeah, because all this time, he didn't know Audrey 2 could talk.
mm-hmm.
He's just been blindly giving up the blood, right? Trying to eat enough iron to stay, conscious. And now it's not enough. And now our wonderful, amazing center of the universe plant has decided to make himself known. And I love that it's a dude, and it's a dude with a big voice. It's Audrey, because Audrey is this little mouse-like character who talks a lot like this. And then Audrey 2 talks like, go ahead, do the line.
Feed me, Crowboy, feed me now.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, right? Right, demanding as heck. Just saying.
And it's so jarring to the audience, because now you have this thing that is, not only can it move, but it can talk and it can sing, and it's very, very, the plant is so sly that the plant manipulates Seymour to do whatever he wants by saying, hey, I can give you all of these things. I am literally your genie. Whatever you want, I can give you. Just, go kill somebody for me, because I'm hungry.
Right. You got to keep doing the thing.
You got to keep feeding me.
The other thing is, and again, can you tell that I'm a musician? You go from, so the beginning, all of the songs, with maybe the exception of Somewhere That's Green, were very 50s centric. Mm-hmm. Doo-wop, very, very innocent, right? Very bouncy, clean. And then Feed Me, you switch to the funk of the 70s.
Mm-hmm. That bass guitar lick. Oh yeah.
Yes. Right. Ooh. Exactly. And it is like not innocent like Motown. It's like you now got a little funk going, and it is, and it's a darker sound. It's a heavier sound. Mm-hmm. Like from the gut sound. It's like you've been on the surface of everything, and now you're in the guts of it. And it is that bass line, when that bass line kicks in, feed me, it's all over. It's all over. So
yeah.
You got to see this. So while we were doing the show, of course, we had a series of puppeteers, and Kenny got to be like in his own little booth, doing the lines and the whole 9 yards. And I'm out front most nights. There were a couple of nights where we had a couple stage hands who weren't there, and I got to be backstage. What I found out, like 4 shows in, when the first time I had to jump in, is that when that bass line kicked in, everybody backstage, including our stage manager, was.
We were bumping and grooving and moving.
Everybody. Yes. We have got it was awesome. It was awesome. So it's that driving beat, and it's that driving force, because Audrey 2 has now become the driving force. Hope is no longer the driving force. Hope is not a strategy. Audrey 2 is the driving force.
And in the middle of this song, Audrey runs in and she's like, oh, Seymour, I forgot my sweater. And Oren is like, look at this dame, forgets her sweater. I swear if her hair won't screwed on, and he slaps the mess out of her. Yeah, and you're like, and then like, okay, before this little scene, the plant says, there must be someone you can 86 real quiet like and get me some lunch. And then Sim was like, no one deserves to get chopped up and fed to a hungry plant. And the plant's like, sure you do. And that's when
Sure,
Audrey runs
yeah,
in.
I don't know anyone who deserves to get chopped up and fed to a hungry plant. And yeah, and Oren walks right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
one of those, and it's so it's coming. I think everybody knows it's coming. It's not hidden that Oren is abusive. It's Seymour had said before, I don't like that guy, Mr. Mushnick. But then the slap that Oren delivers to Audrey, he also delivers to Seymour, because Seymour is slapped with the truth of what is happening to the woman that he loves. And it makes him think of the world it makes his world a little darker. I mean, after all the bad things that have happened to him, you don't see Mushnick hitting him or him. But Seymour's world gets a little darker because he is, as Audrey is slapped by Oren, Seymour is slapped with the truth that this is really happening to her.
And that guy feels like plant food to me.
Yep, and the plant is cagey and wily enough to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
Told you, pal. You want to be with her, you're going to have to get rid of him. And he's no good. It's not like he's a nice person, Seymour. Right? So back in the beginning, I said you have to care about Seymour because he's going to do some horrible things.
And then, like the last
it's
line,
easier to wrap your head around it when you realize Oren is a really cruddy person, and so you're okay with him being fed to the plant. Really okay with it because he kind of deserves it because he's kind of a jerk.
And the last line of the song is, "So go get it." And Seymour just has like this look of determination, like yeah.
Right. I'm gonna go get it. He has no idea how he's gonna do it. I mean, he thinks he does, but he has no idea what the heck he's going to do. He just knows this is how you kill two birds with one stone. Literally, kill two. Right? You're going to get the plant what he needs. You're going to give Audrey 2 what he needs, and you're going to give Audrey 1 what she needs to, and that's to be away from Oren.
And you're going to rid the world of horrendous dentist. So as an audience member, you instantly buy into this. You instantly go, okay, yeah, I'm okay with him dying.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm okay with murder.
Look, there has to be a character you have to be okay with 86ing. You have to. So
we are then introduced into the, which I'm really upset that like this music isn't in the cast recording, but there is the dentist chair music, which is like wheeling on this dentist chair, and it's such a haunting like intro for an inanimate object of a chair.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And okay, so again, we've talked about the whole fear of the dentist thing, and I mean, Seymour's scared. Of course he's scared. You're in the dentist's office and they're hearing screaming. And then Seymour's there.
And then there's Oren. Oren's like, hey, don't I know you? And Oren just, does about his business. And he's like, oh, look at your mouth. It is a mess. I'm going to enjoy this. And you're like, whoa, okay, stop. I'm scared. And then you are sort of not really thrust into this next moment, but you are sort of just, and you're frozen, which means I'm having, there we go. Sorry, you had froze. And
I'm frozen?
Yeah. So it's okay. It's okay. You go ahead. I'll just edit this part out.
Okay. So when he's in the chair, I can remember the very first time I saw this show, and he's in there like that, and I could feel the sweat that must have been trickling down Seymour's back. You know, when you're really, really scared and you break out into that cold, clammy sweat, we've all had it happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's that trickle down that I knew that's what that character was feeling. And it was like, oh no, 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 Seymour, no, you've either got to, something's got to happen. So you're torn. You're torn between, okay, do something, get yourself out of this, or there's the part of you that's like, this is forever going to change him.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to change him if he has to, if he kills Oren, it's going to change him. Luckily.
And so Oren goes off stage and changes into his gas mask suit.
His special gas mask.
Huh. And we get this next song, which is called Now It's Just a Gas. And it's Seymour trying to will himself to shoot Oren. And I'm like, oh God, oh God.
Yeah. So he comes in with the special gas mask. And again, it's another patter song. But it's, it's all the thoughts in Seymour's head that are going through. Like, he's a nervous wreck. His anxiety has to be off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
There's Oren, who is getting lit like crazy. And then he can't get the mask off. And you realize that our hero, our Seymour, it's not going to ruin him. He's caught in that no man's land, right? So we knew, because remember he had the gun, and he's going to shoot me. You're not going to shoot, because it would have changed him fundamentally as a person. So now you're in that gray area. So we're now in this conundrum, right? Because Oren knew Seymour wasn't going to shoot him. He says, oh, you're not going to kill me. And we, as an audience, know that if Seymour had shot Oren, it would have fundamentally changed who he was. But now fate has kind of given us the opportunity to have what needs to happen, and it really not be Seymour's fault. Seymour's doesn't have to do anything. If he just does nothing and let nature do what it's going to do, then that's the way it is. Now, if Oren wasn't such a schnook, we wouldn't have this problem and he would have saved him. And Seymour wrestles with that. Like, even though he's not a nice guy, even though it means that he won't get what he ultimately wants, even though he knows that if he saves this guy, he's going to hurt Audrey again, he still wrestles with it like, oh, I really should, but I don't have to. I don't have to touch him. He did this to himself. And isn't this fate taking care of things? How he justifies it. And that's how I would justify it too.
And all Seymour has to do now is just clean up.
Right. And Oren is just delivered to him in a pickled mess. And as what's different from this song than the other patter songs that got faster, remember, Close for Innovations got faster. This one, as the gas takes effect, it slows down.
It gets slower and slower.
Just like Oren's breathing and his heart rate until it stops.
My favorite line is, "Are you happy now? I've laughed myself to breath, 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 dead." And then Seymour's like, death?
Yeah, like he's not sure, is it really done? And yeah, and it was. And like I said, like fate kind of just handed him what he needed.
And then we get into the Act 1 finale, which it's chilling, but at the same token, it still has that air of camp.
Yeah.
And it's the doo-wop girls. And they're like, Shang-a-lang, what a creepy thing to be happening. And it's It's Seymour feeding pieces of Oren to the plant.
Right, in silhouette. I mean, now I'm sure some productions probably show we did not, because again, harking back to the old film stuff is kind of where I was kind of going for, like a comic booky, very 50s, 60s kind of look. So to have it happen backlit in silhouette, you see him hold up a leg and you just see the plant's giant jaws just close down on it. And all of the sounds, nom, nom, nom.
Oh, it's so gross. By the same token, you're just like, oh, this is happening. And the last thing that you hear in Act 1 is the plant's laughter. Yeah. And that's when you know, oh, the plant has control now.
Yeah.
The plant is in control of Seymour.
Yeah. That is right. Seymour has gone from being controlled by all of the circumstances around him to being controlled by he's controlled by his love for Audrey, and the plant uses that as the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then we are into Act 2. Now, the moment that the curtain opens in Act 2, you instantly see the plant has now grown massively. Like the plant takes up half of the flower shop now.
Yeah.
And as an audience member, you're just like, this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well at all. And you have this wonderful song called Call Back in the Morning, which is probably like the hardest song in the show.
Oh my God. And it's luckily it's short because we almost killed people getting it.
It's such a tongue twister of a song, but it's a great way to open Act 2 because you see now the busyness of the flower shop and the success of the flower shop because of this plan.
Yeah. And sure. So, I mean, again, you can't hate Audrey 2, right? Audrey 2 has all of these wonderful things to bear. And you can't hate Seymour for feeding Oren because Oren had it coming. He's not a nice guy. And now, so the plant has blossomed, but so is everybody else. Right? He's kind of everybody else along for the ride. That it's, everybody's doing well. And Call Back in the Morning is the phones are ringing off the hook and everybody wants a piece of this. And the big moment is that at some point they got a request from the Rose Bowl. And it was a huge inflated estimate that they wrote. And Audrey says, Seymour, it's the Rose Bowl. They want us to do the plants for all of the floats. That is the pinnacle of, no one flower shop could do all of the plants, but again, we're suspending disbelief, but you've now hit the mountaintop of success.
Yeah. So the song ends and they're all exhausted. And Seymour, being the guy that he is, he's like, oh, I have a present for you. Well, I bought something and I think you might like it. He runs off and he comes back on wearing a leather jacket because in Seymour's mind, she likes guys with leather jackets. So I'm going to get a leather jacket.
Right.
Without really thinking about, oh, yeah, she did just, her boyfriend did just disappear. And so
and he wasn't a nice boyfriend.
Right.
It doesn't even enter his mind. Again, poor sweet clueless Seymour is that he's so eager to give her what he thinks she wants that he's going to give her someone who looks like Oren but isn't mean and ugly like Oren. Realizing that just even seeing Oren, seeing something that reminds her of Oren would trigger probably some pretty severe PTSD. And also she's got to be feeling a little ambivalent too, because on the one hand, she no longer has a fella, but on the other hand, she's not getting beat up or abused.
Mhm. One of my favorite lines from this moment is, I'll, I'll save so much more money on Epsom salts and Ace bandages because now she doesn't need it because
Right.
Orange is gone.
Yeah.
But like even the fact that Oren's gone, it still affects her because like she even says, she's like, secretly I wished it.
Yeah. So did it happen because secretly, right, she feels guilty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because again, she can't own the fact that what he did was wrong and that she did not deserve it.
And this is where we get a little bit more of a slight backstory on Audrey. She was like, well, do you know where I met him? And she used to work at this place called the Gutter, where she would wear cheap and tasteless outfits. So
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that she was probably one of those like bar girls in like the very low, very tight, very very like low cut dresses, low cut shirts, and this is what Oren saw, and so this is what Oren wanted.
Right. Right. Yeah. So throughout the show, she wears very tight, short skirts and low cut blouses or tight sweaters over top of a low cut blouse. But she says, not nice ones like these.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, those outfits are pretty tawdry. So again, her work sense of what's proper and what's not proper. Yeah.
And
What
then it goes into
Yep.
the most beautiful song in the entire show.
Well, wait a minute, I thought that was Somewhere That's Green.
Well, it is, but like this one is it's a very close second.
Yeah, this one, so this one is a Take It to Church song.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead.
Really get to know Audrey in this song too. You get to, so in Somewhere That's Green, you see where Audrey wants to go. In Suddenly Seymour, you see where she's been.
Mm-hmm. And Seymour's like, you deserve a guy that would treat you nice. And it just goes into the song. And just you see like a character change in Seymour because now he's gaining more confidence and he's just being more, I don't want to say aggressive because that's an awful word. He's taking chances. He's taking
assertive.
He's
there we go. Asserting himself, whereas before he would never assert himself. Everything happened to him, and now he is taking steps forward to get what he wants, to get it, as the plant would say.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. The plant's like, get it, and he's getting it. Huh?
He is.
So more into Audrey. Her line is, nobody's ever treated her kindly. Daddy left early, mama was poor. And I'm like, oh, that instantly just gives you an idea of what her childhood was like.
Right.
Instantly.
Right. I'd meet a man and I'd follow him blindly. He'd snap his fingers and me, I'd say, sure, because her father left. So she was always trying to, I'm sure at some point, told you we're gonna unpack it. But that line tells you, no wonder she's willing to settle for so little.
Mm-hmm.
Probably internalized her father leaving as her fault, as her not being good enough or smart enough or whatever enough. And so if she gives the man what he wants, he won't leave like her father did.
Mm-hmm. And it also gives you an idea of probably this situation was happening to her mother as well. And,
absolutely.
And Audrey is seeing this, and she's like, "Okay, this is normal. This is how life is supposed to be."
Yeah, and and the end of this song is. So remember before I said it's the little glimmer of hope. It's like when dawn first breaks, and you have those little pinpoints. At the end of this song is when you are at sunrise and the beams are coming up and everything is hopeful because choirs of angels are singing. These two have figured out that they love each other and they're going to be together. And, everything should be great now, right?
And for the first time, they kiss, and just the euphoria that's on Seymour's face after all that happens is like, ah, beautiful, love it.
Yeah.
And then he goes back inside the flower shop, and instantly his world crashes because Mushnik is there, and he's like, "You love her madly, don't you, schmuck?" And you're like, "Oh God, what is going on?"
Yeah.
And immediately you're like, "Does Mushnik know? No, how could Mushnik know?" And Mushnik proceeds to say, "I was called down to the police station, and would you believe that they found a Mushnik Skid Row flower bag inside of Oren's office?" And it got me thinking. And immediately you're like, oh my God, Mushnik is putting two and two together.
Yeah. So Mushnik's not stupid. He's not dumb, right? And he's pieced together that something bad has happened. He knows that Seymour is in love with Audrey, and he knows that Oren is missing and it's being investigated. And his spidey senses are telling him that this kid has something to do with it.
And so he takes Seymour outside and he says, it's best to dispose of something not on Skid Row when they only pick up the trash once a week. Or no, it was once a month. And he opens the lid and out comes Oren's dentist uniform. And immediately the plant's looking at this and he's like, all right, so he's got your number now, so you gotta get rid of him. So
right.
Why don't you just
right? So that's the plant has seized on. Right, the plant has seized on this weak moment. The plant immediately sees the deer in the headlights look. And it's so cool because it's a split screen, right? So you've got that happening outside, but you can see inside. And you know that the plant is seeing what's going on and knows what's happening. And the plant is that voice in your head, like, oh, he's got your number now. And it's that, again, everything that plant does is this gorgeous bass voice, gotta tell you. And it's all of this darkness, but it's this ooey gooey kind of, it's almost the darkness you want to embrace. No, it's scary, but it's sinister, but it's not cold. That's the thing. It's not the way the music's written and the way, luckily enough, that we've had, great actors voice that character. But that when Audrey talks, it's the darkness you want to embrace. You're not afraid of it. You're like, all right, well, if we're going to go down this route, we're going to go down this route.
And so Mushnik proceeds to go, okay, so I'm going to take you down to a police station. You're going to tell them your side of the story, and we're going to be hunky-dory, okay? And so Seymour's like, well, don't you want the daily deposits? And Mushnik is like, it's in the safe. Why is it not in the safe? He's like, well, I forgot the combination. And then Mushnik is like, it's thousands of dollars. Where is it? And Seymour's like, it's in the plant. And immediately as an audience member, you're like, oh no.
Right.
Oh no. To me, like, this is the first time that Seymour willingly gave someone to the plant. And not only that, it's a parental figure to him.
Yeah, but see, he did it because his back was against the wall.
Exactly.
Right?
And if Mushnik wasn't so greedy, he would not have went for the money.
If Mushnik hadn't been pushing Seymour, he would have, and if Mushnik hadn't come off as a threat, to Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
And things would have been, but you know what? As parents, you try to teach your children, even if it's painful, you have to do the right thing. Let's go tell the person, your kid, take something that doesn't belong to them. You make them go face that music and apologize and give it back. And I think that's the lesson Mushnick is trying to give. But I mean, Seymour A sees it as a threat, and B, the plant is in Seymour's head and makes it seem much, your entire life is going to end. There's no way. I mean, in reality, if he had said, look, here's the deal, as odd as this sounds, I didn't do anything. He overdosed on gas, and I didn't know how to help him. And I panicked and I was freaked out when, you know what I mean? And there isn't enough evidence. There's no body, right?
No body.
Right. But he's not thinking like that. He's not. He's thinking, oh my gosh, I just kissed the most wonderful woman in the world, and I love her, and we're finally together, and this is going to end it all. And the plant capitalizes on that. He capitalizes on that insecurity.
One of the lines that the plant says is, your future with Audrey. And that's what, you're right.
Yep.
So Mushnick knocks on the plant's mouth, or petal, whatever, 3 times. And
trap, thing.
The trap, yes. And he goes inside the plant's mouth, and the plant eats him. Done.
Once again, Seymour doesn't kill anyone.
Nope. His hands are clean still. But then we are like immediately thrown into this next scene with the doo-wop girls saying that there's people that want to talk to him about, expanding and having a TV show and all the other stuff. And they sang this wonderful song called The Meek Shall Inherit. And it's a nice juxtaposition song because of what just happened and what's literally about to happen. Like, hey, Seymour, you're so meek and innocent. You're going to inherit the earth. It's all yours.
The meek are going to get what's coming to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the meek shall inherit so I actually used the end of the meek shall inherit as one of the audition songs for Seymour. And our actor who got the role because he, without any direction, he made me cry. There is a moment where he's talking about, the doo-wop girls are talking, and he's thinking about all of his future and all of these things. And there's a stop. And he says, but then there's Audrey. Lovely Audrey. If life were tawdry and impoverished as before, she might not like me, she might not love me without my plant. And it's literally, instead of all of these things, he stops for a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
You just see that there's the vulnerability. He literally cracks open. There it is. It's just laid bare. But then there's Audrey. And Chad sang that during auditions, and I cried. And our music director was like, he's a little old. I said, I don't care. He made me cry. I don't care. We'll fix it. He made me cry. And then when we did the first sing through, we got to that point, and he did it again. And Kylie, who played Audrey 1, looked at me and said, I get it now. Just wrecked, because he just had that, it's, the meek shall inherit, and it's this little driving, like, you're going to march off to success. And then he has a moment to think. And he's just broken because he can't do it without her. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great song. It's a great song. And it's a great song because that little moment there makes me cry.
And then after this song, we are given a scene where it is a power play between the plant and Seymour.
Uh-huh.
And the plant is like, feed me, I'm hungry. And Seymour's like, no, I'm not going to. And then the plant's like, feed me. And Seymour's like, no, I will not. So stop asking. And then like the plant just like roars, feed me. And the plant's like, and Seymour's like, no, you know what? I'm gonna go down to Smedreth and get you some nice chopped sirloin, and you're gonna deal with that. That's what you're
Right.
going to have.
He
Nothing else.
He has drawn the line in the sand that you know what? Oren did himself in, and Seymour didn't kill him. He kind of led him down the path, but he didn't get. But the guilt he's done with that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so. Seymour has now said, "This is what's important." And while I'm not willing to give you up because I'm not willing to lose your success, I'm also not willing to do that anymore.
So Seymour leaves, and Audrey comes on stage, and she's concerned for Seymour. And like she has this cute little like 20-second song about how she couldn't sleep. She even took a Salmonax, but the voices in her head kept saying, go to Seymour, talk to Seymour.
She knows something's wrong.
And the plant sees her and beckons her into the shop.
Yep.
Oh.
And this is where you stop. This is where you go. Everybody's going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And you know it's coming and you can't stop it. And you can't look away.
It's like a train wreck. You know, it's like up. So the plan is like, I need some water in the worst way. I mean, just look at my branches.
And she's so sweet.
Like she accepts that the plant talks. She accepts that the plant is talking to her, and she's like, okay, sure.
Because that's Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
Because a stronger personality says do something and she says okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's who she is. Yeah. And is cringing at this point, going, no, please don't. No.
Audrey grabs the watering can, and she's like, here you go. And the plant says, and now it's supper time. And all of his his tentacles, everything just wraps around her. And the plant divulges the biggest secret that Seymour has been holding. Come on inside and join your dentist friend. Oh no, come on and join your dentist friend and Mushnik. They're right inside. And like in an instant, Audrey's like, wait, what? And then she is thrust into the plant's mouth.
Yep.
Oh. And like literally Seymour comes in just in time, sees the plant is like gnawing on the love of his life, and he's like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, he's right. So Audrey too has now crossed the line.
Mm-hmm.
The line has been crossed.
And he saves Audrey from the plant's mouth and takes her outside, and Audrey's like, is it true what the plant said? And Seymour's like, what did the plant say? That Oren and Mr. Mushnik were already inside. And he's like, yeah. I fed them to it.
I fed them to it. He doesn't say he killed them because he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I fed them to it.
And then he says, I've done horrible things, Audrey, but never to you. Not to you, never to you. And then she says the one line that just makes you just cry. And she's like, but I want you to, Seymour. And you're like, wait, what? No!
Yeah, so she knows she's grievously injured.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got hope. She's trying to break it to him. And she's like, when I'm gone, which should be very shortly, feed me to the plant so that you can continue to be successful because you deserve it. It is the ultimate gift of the Magi moment. I'm going to give myself to your success.
And then she sings Somewhere That's Green, reprise.
Yep. Yeah, and you figure out that the something that's green is not the kind of green she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a much different green.
And she's content with it. She's happy with it.
Yeah, she's okay with it. That's just Audrey. So Audrey is she's had her moment in the sun. She knows she loves Seymour and that Seymour loves her, and she's gonna die anyway. So let's do something for the greater good, or what she sees as the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, our self-sacrificing Audrey.
And so Seymour does exactly what Audrey says and feeds her to the plant in the most dramatic music ever.
Oh my gosh, it's like a Wagnerian opera. It is so, and that's again, it's melodrama so that you're not sobbing your head off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they take it just over the top enough so that you're like, okay, right? So that you're not really sobbing your head, because you don't need to cry. They don't want you to cry. They want you to enjoy the show, right?
Right.
So you have to save the camp part. And so they give you this just driving, overly melodramatic, and he's like, as he feeds her to the plant. Yeah, yeah. And I will say, we played that up. It was very much. So I will tell you, my inspiration for when I directed this scene and you've had to have seen What's Opera Doc with Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, when he's standing there at the end of the opera and he's, I've killed her, right? Right? And that's what I wanted. And that's what we made that scene look like.
And then immediately after Audrey's death, you are thrust into another part of the puzzle where Skip Snip wait, no. Not Skip Snip. Who is this guy?
Oh, it's the one that wants to take it's the one that wants to take the cuttings.
Right. So he comes on stage and he's like, hey, did you get my memo or my email or whatever, not email, my memo. And he talks about how he wants to take leaf cuttings and develop little Audrey 2s and
put
sell
them in
them
every house in town,
shops across America.
Yeah.
And immediately Seymour's like, floor shops across America? I was like, yeah, think about it, kid. This could be bigger than hula hoops. And immediately Seymour's like, there'll be Audrey 2s everywhere. And then Seymour just had that moment of clarity.
Yeah.
He's like, this is
what you wanted all along.
This is global domination.
Yep.
So Seymour runs inside and he's like, so bigger than hula hoops, huh? And the plant's like, much bigger.
much bigger.
And so
it's comedic timing, right? It's, Seymour's like, you were doing this and you were doing that. And the plant's like, sure was.
and it brings up my favorite line that the plant says. And Seymour's like, so we're not talking about conquest, we're talking about world domination. And he's like, no shit, Sherlock. And I'm like, love it.
Again,
and so
that use of comedy, you've got this big light bulb dramatic moment, right? And so what's fun is Seymour has to play it kind of straight, right? Mm-hmm. The plant gets to be this just comedic, wisecracking smartass because then you laugh, right? So mm-hmm. Horrified, but you're laughing about it. It's just a super nice, it's delicate, because if you overplay it, then it just is like, oh, whatever. But if you have one character that's grounded in the horror of the situation, right? They're staying true while everything else is ridiculous. So you're anchored to Seymour in his reality, but all the ridiculousness around it allows you to just not be horrified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so then Seymour tries everything to kill the plant, rat poison. He even picks up his gun and he shoots the plant and the bullet just bounces off.
And the plant
immediately
laughs.
you're just like, how is this plant indestructible all of a sudden?
Right.
And so then in a moment of, and we can discuss this in the random thoughts, but like in a moment of almost blind clarity, he picks up the knife or the machete and he's like, inside that pod is your soft spot. Inside of there, I'm gonna hack you to bits. So he tells the plant to open up, and Seymour goes inside the plant, starts to like try to cut him up, but the plant's like, I don't need you anymore, and I'm still hungry. And he eats Seymour.
Yep.
And spits out the machete.
Pooey.
And so then the guy comes in and he's like, Seymour, Mr. Crowborn, they're gone. So, all right, girls, start taking leaf cuttings. And so the doo-wop girls are smiling and they're just taking little leaves and placing them inside of pots. And it's at this moment where I'm like, were the doo-wop girls in it all this time?
Right, exactly. Because
were the doo-wop girls a part of the plant?
No.
Like his little sirens?
In the story, they weren't there. They may have been accomplices, but because they're ephemeral beings, right? They're not in the story really all the time. They're popping in and out. So a little artistic license there. And then the finale, again, could be because world domination, and then you see the later down the road, all of the Audreys and all of the Blooms, and they all the faces of the victims. There's an Audrey one flower face, and a Seymour flower face, and an Oren flower face, and a Mushnik. And we one of the best, most fun things that we did in ours is that we did the finale. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see it, but we had our cast, our ensemble, came up from behind the audience, and they all had streamers in their hands, and they're all dressed as they've all been taken over by the plants, and they're singing this happy-go-lucky finale, "Don't feed the plants." And at the end, they throw their hands forward with streamers that cover the audience, so that the audience has all been assimilated and
devoured.
Yeah, but again, it's such a happy number that you're like, okay, we'll
accept a new R2 overlords.
Sure, as long as you give us good music, we're good.
And that's how the show ends. It ends on such it's an upbeat number, but it's such a the world has gone to an end.
The plant won. Right, because you expect, in most musicals, right, your protagonist, everything turns out okay in the end. That's everybody loves a happy ending. Well, you get a happy ending, but not a happy ending. You get a happy song, and it's been kept light enough that you're not crushed by the reality of, the plant won.
All right. Now, before we get into our top 3 songs, I want to have this discussion with you because I am curious. So I always thought of Seymour's death at the very end as, trigger warning, I always saw it as a suicide because he had nothing left to live for. And he knew that whatever goes inside that plant's mouth was not coming out.
Yes. Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. It was the ultimate self-sacrifice. He had nothing left. He knew he wasn't coming out. It's his Armageddon moment, right? When the guy goes up in the rocket, he knows he's not coming back. He's Iron Man at that point, right? He's Tony Stark, where he goes up and he knows he's not coming back. But he's gonna, again, just like Audrey one was feeding herself for the greater good, he was going in with the intent of destroying for the greater good. It didn't turn out that way,
right?
But Oh, absolutely. I absolutely think he knew he was going in and not coming out. And I think it was, I mean, I think that was a foregone conclusion. I'm totally with you. Totally with you on that. I did not. So here's the thing. Anyone who watches the movie, spoiler alert, the plant does not win in the movie because moviegoers were not okay with it.
They did a test
Funny.
audience with that movie because originally they had filmed where everybody dies, just like in the in the production. But
Yep.
the moviegoers were like, "That's too dark. We like happy. No, no." And so they had to refilm the entire ending.
Yeah, they did.
and cut out. I want to say the "Don't Feed the Plant" scene was almost like $1 million because of
Oh
all
yeah,
the
because
practical effects that they did.
yeah, because it ends up being like they ended up taking it in like a Godzilla, that kind of direction.
The kaijus were coming. Ooh, Godzilla versus Audrey 2. I kind of want to see that now.
Throw in Kong just for fun.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, I totally. So you can get away with, I believe, because the difference between live theater and movies, both are wonderful. But the fact that live theater, you are more intimately immersed in the experience. And, you can see you, everything's kind of surrounding you and you're a part of it more. And then obviously when you aren't eaten by a plant, then you're more able to just, walk away. A movie is you're more of an observer, and I think it plays on a different part of your brain. Um, so yeah, the movie, they didn't like it at all. But the theater production, I think, would have really lost something if the plant lost. I mean, you'd kind of be like, oh, because you don't get. Here's the thing: the plant can't lose at the end of the stage show, because your hero and heroine are dead. They're not going to end up together. So then everybody ends up dead. It's like, I mean, Romeo and Juliet is a wonderful story, but nobody feels good at the end. No one is okay with it at the end. Everybody's kind of like, well, this is a drag. Well, the whole that show is not a drag. That show is campy and funny and yes, it has all those human elements, but it's campy and funny, and you can't let it be a traditional tragedy and just leave everybody dead, including the plant.
Exactly.
You have to give them something big and ridiculous, even more ridiculous than a man-eating plant from outer space. How about a gazillion of them, all with, the faces you've seen on the show is now everybody's a plant, except the doo-wop girls, who are not. And that's when, so you need to give them something even bigger ridiculousness to kind of release that, so that you're not stuck in the sad.
Yeah. All right. So, Stacy, what are your top 3 songs? And that's gonna be really hard.
That's really hard. Okay, for completely different reasons, and I can't rank them 3, 2, 1. They're all up there. I've already said that the Meek Shell and Harry, that moment of, but then there's Audrey, that tenderness there is just something to behold, and it's such a switch. I Feed Me is there too, but the problem is the third, right? So Feed Me, because it's just so, I love that you get that break. I love that there's that driving bass line, and it's something different, and you're like, all right, you finally get a little soul, right? I mean, it's the show to that point, it's a little white bread, if I'm being honest. And then you get a little funk, and you get a little soul, and it gets a little dirty, and I kind of like it. So Feed Me's really, really up there. Shoo. Probably Somewhere That's Green.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably Somewhere That's Green. It's just such a, it could be so maudlin and it's not. And it's got all of these cliches and the lyrics are funny, not fancy like Levittown. Levittown is not fancy. And it's just sweet and hopeful, and it's a ballad without being sad.
Mm-hmm.
A hopeful ballad. And it's and I think what I like most about it is it's a hopeful ballad about, not necessarily about, we're all used to love songs being about the guy, right? Somewhere That's Green is not just about Seymour. It's
Right.
actually not much about Seymour at all. It's about her dream with a guy like Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And, I've had the good fortune of having some pretty amazing, I have pretty amazing Audrey sing it every night. So,
My top three, okay. And I am going to do it.
it has to be Feed Me. Feed Me has to be on there, Kenny.
Spoilers. So number three is definitely the opening number, because it just sets the tone for the entire show for me.
On the 21st day of the month of September?
No. Like the Do-Up Girls part.
Oh, okay. All right.
Number two, is a toss-up, because I love Suddenly Seymour, but number two is definitely going to have to be Somewhere That's Green. I think I probably sing that song probably more times than I care to count. One day I would love to play a gender bent Audrey, but that would never happen. And of course, number one is definitely Feed Me. I mean,
has to be.
It
has to be.
That was literally the first song that I memorized from that movie. Than anything else was that particular song. And yeah, I sung that song so much in my growing up years that it annoyed my parents. I remember I had the VHS tape of Little Shop of Horrors first, and I would always rewind and watch that number again. I did that so much that it literally snapped right
in
the middle of Feed Me. So yeah. So yes, number one is definitely Feed Me. All right.
It has to be. That's such a good song. It's such that's when you realize how slick Audrey 2 really is, and how cool Audrey 2 really is, in a really dark, and like I said, that's the darkness that you want to embrace. You're down. You're like, all right, let's get it.
Now, some random thoughts on this show. So I love that you mentioned that Audrey 2 is that male bass voice. How do you feel about females playing Audrey 2? Because there have been numerous productions where it's a female voice coming out of the plant.
So I don't dislike the idea. In fact, we had a very good female read for Audrey 2. And you could do a lot with it, right? You could have Audrey 2 be the little, almost be jealous. Could almost be a jealousy thing. You know what I mean? You could do a lot with that. I'm kind of the opinion, I am an alto. By everything I sing, I'm an alto. So while I do love the tenors, I gave birth to a tenor. He's my favorite tenor, but I am all about that bass. So, and they're really, if you think about it, you get a lot of tenors in musicals.
Oh, so many.
Right? But when you get something that is just this glorious, deep baritone voice, in a character that is not a criminal, is not, you know what I mean, and is not, Audrey 2 not nice, but the music is just so good. And you get a compelling character like Audrey 2 that kind of drives the story and is kind of the centerpiece. It's such a novelty that, I got to embrace the heck out of that. And I'm sorry, you can't get funky to a tenor voice. You just can't, not like you can bass.
And like recently, Audrey 2 has been played by like just the human body. Like there's no actual plant, but like a human is literally being Audrey 2. I'll say more recently, and it probably wasn't recently, but I remember watching a video of Vicky Vox, a amazing drag queen, being Audrey 2, and like her costume was very plant-like, and just the way that she was able to interact with her Seymour, it just added more to that song. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Okay, but then how does she eat did they switch when
they had a this little section of the set that was literally the plant's mouth that she would come out of. So whenever, you know, someone dies, she would grab them and they'd go inside. And I was like, okay, that works.
Yeah. I would love to see that. I mean, yeah, there would be some of that, I think. I mean, look, it is very hard. That show is technically, it's really hard to get the voice and the puppeteer to match. And we were so fortunate in our puppeteers. And we were also very fortunate in that you were so consistent. You were so consistent in what you did every night. In fact, our puppeteers would say, thank God we know what Kenny's going to do. He's not allowed to switch anything, but you knew that, right? So it was seamless. And in fact, when you came out for your curtain call, we actually had to give people a clue as to who you were, because they were like, who's that?
Who is this?
Who is that
person that's walking on stage?
Right? So that's it's a really hard show to do. I think, though, I would like to see a human be a part of it, maybe be a little more, maybe the plant is able to be a little more mobile. However, I think that having the big puppet adds to the ridiculousness. You don't want to get too real. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want it to get too real, because then you lose the camp factor. So
now we've already talked about the movie and the differences. I know
I'm still mad. I'm still mad that we didn't get to sing. I didn't get to hear you sing Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
That's the one song that I kind of wish they added to the Broadway production, because
absolutely.
I feel like they could have. They had the budget and they had the technical know-how to do it, but whenever you look at the behind the scenes of the puppeteering for the plant's mouth, to spit out all those words, Mean Green Mother, for a 5-minute song, mind you, that poor puppeteer would be like, look, my arms are jello, I'm done.
Well, I mean, we had our puppeteer doing Feed Me, and I think he lost 15 pounds during the run because it was so hot. I mean, the big puppet, we had 2 puppeteers that were switching off because it was so hot and it was so cumbersome. But Mean Green Mother is such a good song. And it's Levi Stubbs is who did it, who was the Four Tops, right? Isn't that what they're a little before mine, but Four Tops, right? Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops. Yeah. So that, again, all about that bass. And just that song alone, if I could have done anything differently, I would have tried to figure out where to put it. But
now, fun fact. So before it went to Broadway, they had tryouts in Seattle. And guess who played the plant then? And I'm like, I need to see this in person now. Billy Porter.
No.
I was like, wait, what? Because it was like a little bit right after what's that musical? Songs for a New World.
Okay.
Where he was in it, but he wasn't in the cast recording. And now I'm like, I need to hear Billy Porter sing Feed Me. that is all I want now.
Yeah.
All right.
That's crazy. I didn't know that at all. Well, I'm really hoping that now that the Broadway's going to be opening up and whatever, I really do hope that Jeremy Jordan is able to play Seymour. I mean, I love Jonathan Groff. I love him. He's my king, George.
It is reported that Jonathan Groff will be returning for, I'm going to say like a 3-week stint before switching it over to somebody else.
Okay. So, but I'm hoping that Jeremy Jordan gets to play Seymour. Yeah.
So, on a scale of A+ to F, where would you rate Little Shop of Horrors?
Overall, I mean, see, again, this is all so subjective, but I would probably give it, I'd give it a solid A. And I give it a solid A primarily, not for believability, but I give it, there's a couple of things that make it super special. One is the music. The music is just, it's fun. And it's fun and beautiful. And you get all of these genres that you didn't realize you needed that all tie together. It's a very clear storyline. Like you'll have some shows that are, they're about nothing, or they're about that are kind of just tied together. Like I'm going to pick on Pippin, which is a wonderful show. I love the music in that show, but the storyline is kind of all over the place. It's very.
I reviewed Pippin a couple episodes ago, and yeah, I said the same thing. I was like, I like the music, but the storyline is so convoluted.
It is. It's really kind of out there, and it's really, you really got to work for that one. So what I love about Little Shop is that the storyline is very simple and straightforward, and you don't have to think about it. You just suspend disbelief, and you can just enjoy it. So if you want to go in and enjoy it and enjoy some great music, that is your show. If you want to go in and enjoy it and realize that there's more to the story, that there's stuff underneath, that's your show too. And the best part of it is it's not 3 hours long.
No, it's not.
It's like an hour. It's like an hour and a half.
It's gonna be. It's this podcast is longer than the actual show.
Well, part of that is the fact that it's us.
Oh yeah. We could talk about the show like for ages.
So I, for those 3 reasons, you could love it on this level, on a very high level. You could love it on this level if you want to delve deep. You could really get into it and psychoanalyze and whatever, and are the doo-wop girls, are they accomplices, or does this stand for whatever? You could do all of that. So the fact that it has such a broad range of all of that, and the fact that it's a tragedy that you love, that you still feel happy coming out of, and the music is just so good. So yeah, I mean, look, there's only one A+ in my book right now, and that's Hamilton, because Hamilton is transformative. You have transformative theater there, but Little Shop in its way is transformative too. It doesn't take you. You take a very simple, very clear, ridiculous plot line, and you make it into something wonderful. And you don't have to give the traditional happy ending, and you still have a great time.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. And I know in my final thoughts, I might end up like changing my mind. But, like, no, in every time I give a grade at this particular point, because I always record my final thoughts like the week before the episode premieres. So I have time to like really mull on it. But I'm gonna give it an A, just because I love this show and I don't care. I'm the host.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like, the only reason why I'm not giving it an A+ is because the story is a talking plant. Okay. But like, yeah, I'll give it an A, a definite solid A.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so you are younger than I am. And even I am not old enough to remember, seeing in theaters, like for real, like The Tomato That Ate New York, or It Came from the Swamp. But there was a whole industry, a whole film
Mhm.
that was done that way. And this show started out as a film starring Jack Nicholson, by the way.
That
Uh,
took 3 days to film.
right, 3 days, right. And it was, and so it pays homage to that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be anything other than fun camp, except it is. And
So,
so, yeah.
fun story about the movie. So, they had money left over from their previous production, Buckets of Blood, and so they also had a sound stage that they still had, use of. So they were like, "You want to just make a quick film?" So the director, I'm gonna say it was Rob something. It escapes me now. He wrote the script in a day, and
Crazy.
they were writing script, but like they were writing stuff as they were filming, and they filmed it in 3 days. And I'm just like, and that was the basis of the musical.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. Look, here's the other reason you have to give Little Shop an A, because without the success of Little Shop, and without Macon, and I mean,
Oh,
without
true.
that team, you don't have The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast,
Or
or
Aladdin.
have that. And so Ashman and Macon, I mean, this is kind of their first big success. And
Mhm.
so much of that is, you can see it in all kinds of other things. So
Mhm.
it's great.
All right, so Stacy, what are your final thoughts on Little Shop of Horrors?
Um, it's one of those shows that if you ever do it, um, if you're ever acting in it, if you ever direct it, or if you ever go and see it live in a small theater. I got to see it at Ford's Theater one time, and it was fantastic. Um, you are guaranteed to be singing that music for weeks later. Um, and it's one of those shows you fall in love with. And Little Shop will always be um, one of my longtime loves. Always. One of my forever loves in the theater will always be Little Shop.
Well, Stacy, thank you so much for talking Little Shop with me. It has been uh you and I, our relationship, it started off as us being Toby and
And
Mrs. Lovett.
yep, yep,
And then it just sort of transformed into actor, director, and like this show just means so much to me, to you, and both of us together.
yeah.
So thank you
By the
so
way, I wore my
much.
Mrs. Lovett space buns for you today. I did that on purpose.
Love it, love it. Literally.
Love it.
All right. Well, Stacy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for the
And
invite.
everyone else, stay tuned. I will give you my final thoughts in just a moment. Kenny's final thoughts. All right, my final thoughts. This is where I give my opinion on the musical that we have just discussed. Then, using a 5-star grading scale, I'll break the musical down into 5 different categories: music, story, comedy, drama, and replayability. Finally, I will give it an overall letter grade with the help of opera singer Marsé Alaundra. I mean, what can I say about my love for this musical? It's campy, it's funny, there's a plant that eats people. Now, I know that I can be extremely biased and say that it's an A+ show. I mean, I'm the host, I can say that. But I I'm going to use logic and I'm going to give this show the proper grade it deserves. A plus. I'm joking. Partially. Maybe. No, I'm joking. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go into the breakdown. So, Little Shop of Horrors. For music, it's Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. Come on. You can't go wrong. 5 stars. Hands down. Story, it's a B-list like horror movie. I mean, it's based on the 1960s movie that was filmed in 3 days, which was also Jack Nicholson's first show or first movie called The Little Shop of Horrors. And it was built, it was done on the same sort of shoestring budget as the movie that the director previously had done. I think it was called Buckets of Blood. And they were like, hey, we still got this leftover fun, so let's make a random movie out of it in 3 days. And that's how Little Shop of Horrors came about. So, story for the musical, the story is fun, it's out there, it is very, very campy. So, for story, I'm gonna give it 4 stars and just call it a day. For comedy, once the plant starts talking, the comedy in the show just becomes ridiculous. So for comedy, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. There are some funny songs in this, like we had talked about before. Mushnik, when he starts singing and dancing, I'm like, wait, you're supposed to be this old man. Why all of a sudden can you like tap? It's ridiculous. For drama, the only real drama in the show happens at like the tail end of it, with our heroes being technically devoured by the antagonist, Audrey 2. But other than that, there's not really much drama. So for drama, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. For replayability, I'm gonna be honest. I listened to this show this morning. Um, like, yeah, I probably listened to the show at least once, twice, probably like 3 times a week. I watch the movie whenever I need to just have a nice pick me up. So replayability for Little Shop of Horrors, for me, 5 stars, hands down, done. So overall, I'm gonna give this show an A. It's not an A plus, but I'm still gonna give it an A. It is a fun show to do. It is, people know it. It is a name recognized show. And if you don't know Little Shop of Horrors, what are you doing with your life? Go listen to it now. That's what this podcast is all about, to listen to new musicals. But anyway, yeah. So overall grade, it's an A. So Marsé, give me that A, honey. Beautiful. Now, Little Shop of Horrors opened off-Broadway at the Orpheum Theater in Manhattan's East Village on July 27th, 1982. It was there for a good, like, 7 to 8 years before it finally closed. The actual Broadway production opened in 2003 and had its first preview August 29th at the Virginia Theater. It opened on October 2nd and closed August 22nd, 2004, with 40 previews and 372 performances. This was the production that I saw. It was my second Broadway show right after Wicked. And it was transformative for me because it was one of those shows that I've been wanting to see done on Broadway like this, and I was so happy to be able to see it. Now, Little Shop of Horrors will reopen its off-Broadway revival today, September 21st, 2001, with the amazing Jeremy Jordan as Seymour. I wish I can go and see this production because it's Jeremy Jordan, and if I haven't said some in this podcast before, I love me some Jeremy Jordan. Ever since the last 5 years, oh yeah, yes, Jeremy Jordan all the way. Now, I cannot do this podcast about Little Shop of Horrors without talking about some notable productions. Namely, the Pasadena Playhouse production that closed October 20th, 2019, that starred George Salazar and the amazing MJ Rodriguez as Seymour and Audrey, respectively. It also had Amber Riley as Audrey 2, Kevin Chamberlain from Suitical fame as Mr. Mushnick, and Matthew Wilkes as Orrin. The emotion in their rendition of Suddenly Seymour, it owns my soul. Some other notable productions. Oh my goodness. I want to say it was the open air that was in London that starred Vicky Vox as Audrey 2. Any production where Audrey 2 is like a person and not like an actual puppet, you can do so much with it, and I am here for it. There is a film version of Little Shop of Horrors, as we have discussed before. It is now streaming on HBO Max. The rights for Little Shop of Horrors, both the original 1982 Off-Broadway production and the 2002 Broadway production, can be licensed through MTI, Good Old Musical Theater International. You can find those links in the description below. Now, next week, I will be having a very wonderful podcast. Like, I honestly wish that I might just start doing the whole note after dark, because the conversation that this person and I had after we filmed this podcast, it was beautiful. So next week, I have Amanda Hamilton on here, and we will be talking about a musical that both her and I have a lot of history with, Wicked. So, until next time, and as always, stay beautiful, you amazing creature. Take care. Thank you for tuning into The Whole Note. The Whole Note is recorded at Roxy Regional Theatre in Clarksville, Tennessee. Intro and outro, The Bumble by Joshua Pyron, and was inspired by The Flight of the Bumblebee. Grading scale notes sung by Marsé Alaundra. This podcast is edited and produced by me, Kenneth L. Waters Jr. Tune in next week and discover a new musical. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay amazing, you beautiful creature.